Right, as promised, I'm going to do a video on one linear and one quadratic simultaneous equation. So the linear one just has an x on it, and the quadratic one has an x squared on it. So the first type is where you've got a line and a circle. So that's an x and a y, and an x squared and a y squared. So you can see immediately that you've got squareds in here, so you can't just plus or minus them. You can't just minus this bottom thing off. It doesn't work like that. So you're going to need to do something else. So the first thing that you need to do is either get x or y on its own. Okay, so once you get that on its own, so you can take a look at this top one here, and you can get x or y on its own very easy. So let's just get x on its own. If we minus y from both sides of that equation, the y is gone there, and then we end up with x equals 3 minus y. Okay, so we have made a new equation for x. It's 3 minus y. And you see, we also have an x in this one here. So that means we are able to now sub it in. So we've got x equals 3 minus y here. And the second thing you do is sub into quadratic. Okay, or sub into the circle, maybe it's more accurate. But anyway, so what you end up is 3 minus y squared. So you've subbed in for x. That's the same thing here. Subbed in 3 minus y squared. Then plus y squared equals 17. Okay, so this is just a very straightforward bracket now to multiply. So remember, a squared bracket just means the bracket twice. So 3 minus y squared, 3 minus y, 3 minus y, then plus y squared equals 17. So we'll keep it as normal. Split the bracket up, 3 minus y, 3 minus y, plus y squared equals 17. So we're splitting up the bracket. Now we're going to multiply it out. 9 minus 3y minus 3y plus y squared equals 17. Now we can simplify each side of the equation. So we've got our y squareds. They can go together. So we have got 2y squareds. Put our y's together. So then it'll be minus 6y. And then we've also got our 9 here. So plus 9 is then equal to 17. Right, so we see we've got a squared going on here. So when we've got a squared and all of this kind of crack, we want to get an equals 0 over here. So we want a 0 with the 17. So that's minus 17 from both sides. And you get 2y squared minus 6y minus 8 equals 0. Now, you've got a couple of options now as to what you're able to do. You could either go straight away and stick it into the minus b formula, or you can factorize it out. So actually, to make life even easier, we can actually just divide it by 2 at this point. So we've got y squared minus 3y minus 4 equals 0. It won't change the answer. So you can either just straight away minus b formula, so you get your a, your b, and your c. So you can stick it into the minus b formula. So it's minus b, so minus 3 plus or minus square root of minus 3 squared minus 4 by 1 by minus 4. So you should know your minus b formula all over 2a, so 2 by 1. The other alternative is that you factorize it. So if you get your guide number here, your guide number is minus 4, factors are 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. And because we've got a negative 3, it can be 1 and minus 4, and 2 and minus 2. So obviously these ones, so you'll have y squared plus 1y minus 4y minus 4 equals 0. So that's your choice, whether you want to go to the minus b formula or you want to factorize it out. So we'll do the minus b formula first anyway. Sure, it'll be 3 plus or minus root 3 squared is 9 plus 16, so it's root 25 over 2. So that is 3 plus or minus 5 over 2. So that's either 8 over 2, which is 4, or minus 2 over 2, which is minus 1. Okay, so there are your two options. You should get 4 minus 1. Same should happen when you do your factorizing. If you prefer that way, y plus 1 minus 4, y plus 1. So you get y minus 4, y plus 1. So you get y equals 4 and y equals minus 1. So it's your choice whether you prefer to factorize or you prefer to use the minus b formula. But anyway, you've got two options now, and you notice that you are getting y. So you just need to be careful. We've done y, so we've got our y's. So once you have your y's, you then need, so the third thing you need to do is solve a quadratic. Should have put that in. And then the last thing you need to do is sub them back in. Okay, you need to sub them back in. So we have an answer for x here. X is 3 minus y. So for the first one, we have 3 minus 4. So that'll be minus 1. And for the second one, we have 3 minus minus 1. So that would be 4. So our two answers are going to be 4 minus 1 and, minus 1, 4. Because remember, x goes first. So minus 1, 4. Because it is x equals, and this is x equals. So x equals 4, and that is minus 1. So in this case, it actually so happened that your 2 points are like this. Okay, so you should get two answers in this. And the way that this works is when you solve these simultaneous equations, you should get two answers because it's a line and a circle. Okay, so just to kind of get the answer there, so you can pause it there if you need to take it down, you're essentially getting x or y on its own, making a quadratic, solving a quadratic, and then subbing back in your two answers. Okay, and the reason it works is that it represents a straight line. So this is a straight line, and that's our red line here, and the other bit is a circle. So when you put them in and you get your two answers, these are the 2 points of intersection there. So that's how those things work out. Okay, so if you're happy enough with that, I'll scroll down here, and here is a question for you to try. So I have two questions that you can try yourselves. So you can pause the video now and you can do that question yourselves. So I'll give it a few seconds. You can pause and then I'll continue on. Right, so the first step you should have done should have been to get x or y on its own. So when you do a nice little minus 2x to both sides, you will get y equals 5 minus 2x. So even though there's a 2 in front of the x, makes no difference. You get y equals 5 minus 2x. And the next thing you're going to do then is you're going to take that 5 minus 2x and you're going to sub it in here. Okay, and then that should work out for you. On the first example, we got x on its own. In this case, we're getting y on its own. Doesn't make any difference, just whatever's the easiest. Okay, and then I will just put up the solution. You should have done it yourself, so pause it if you haven't. And here's your answers. Okay, so that's what you should have got. You should have got 0, 5, and 4 minus 3. Again, we are first getting y on its own. We're making a quadratic. We're solving a quadratic. And we're subbing it back in. So those are the 4 steps. Y on its own, make quadratic, solve quadratic, sub it back in. And you can see how it works out. We've got the answers of 0, 0, 5. Yeah, you can see it's 0, 5 and 4 minus 3. So you can see those are the two places where it hits there. Okay, and I'll just go over to another question for you to try yourselves. Same method. Okay, so just pause the video and you can try it yourself there again. And these come up all the time, especially at Leaving Cert Ordinary level. There's one of these nearly every year. And slightly harder ones come up at Leaving Cert higher levels. They're important to be able to do. So pause it, and then I will just give the solutions. All right, so first thing, get y on its own. The same again when you minus. So the only thing here is when you minus 2x from both sides. So when you do that, you end up with minus y equals 7 minus 2x. So you just need to change the signs here. So it becomes minus 7 plus 2x, or 2x minus 7. So that what you're doing there is multiplying by minus 1. You just need to be careful there if you end up with a negative that you want it as a positive. Once you have that, you can just sub in for y there. So if you haven't done that, I will allow the solutions to come up. And here we go. So this one's actually going to have fraction answers, as you can see on the diagram. Okay, so you need to sub in y and then expand the brackets. And then you need to solve your quadratic. So there's your quadratic down there. And then you need to, of course, sub. Oh, hit the button there, but you need to just sub back in there. And that should get your 2 points. 0 minus 7, as we see there, and 5.6, 4.2, as we see up there. Okay. Now, the second type is probably actually a bit easier, where you get a line and a curve. So instead of having a a line in a circle where you've got an x squared and a y squared, you just end up with two options like this. So this one has it done quite nicely. Y equals 2x plus 3 and y equals x squared. So obviously this is a straight line and this is a curve. So you have to find the points of intersection. Now, if you were given a graph with numbers, you could, of course, just look at the numbers and find them, but we need to find them using algebra. So if you notice, these are both written as y equals. Okay, so that means these y's are actually the same. So that means that 2x plus 3 is the same as x squared. So if you're ever asked to find a point of intersection of graphs, you can just let them equal each other and you'll find it. But we're going to be using the same methods as we have before. So you see we have a squared, so we want to make a quadratic. So that's minus 2x and minus 3 from both sides. And we will be left with 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. So we've got our quadratic. We've got a squared x and number equal to 0. So again, you've got your two options. You can either minus b formula the whole thing. So we should have minus minus 2 plus or minus the square root of minus 2 squared minus 4 by 1 by minus 3 all over 2 times 1 as your a. So remember, you've got your a, your b, and your c. So you just need to make sure you have that. So this becomes 2 plus or minus, that should be black. The square root, 2 squared is 4 plus 12, so root 16 over 2. So it becomes, so we know, so 2 plus or minus 4 over 2. So it's 1 plus or minus 2. So your answers are minus 1 or 3. Those are your two options for x. So x is equal to minus 1 or 3. And that matches up with the diagram. We've got a minus 1 here or a 3 here. So we've got our x's, then we just need to sub them back in. Okay, but just so you know, you can factorize either with your guide number. So you'd have your two factors would be 1 and 3, and you'd be using minus 3. So you had x squared minus 3x plus 1x minus 3 equals 0. So when you'd factorize that out, it would be x minus 1 and x plus 3. So your x would be 1. Sorry, got the signs wrong. X plus 1 and it should be x minus 1 and just do it properly. So x minus 3 plus 1, x minus 3. So you get x plus 1 and x minus 3, of course. So you get x equals minus 1 and x equals 3 when you solve it. Again, you're getting the same answers regardless. Now, the last step you just got to do is just sub them back in. So if you've got so y equals 2x plus 3 was your linear equation. So for the first one, 2 by minus 1 plus 3. The other one would be 2 by 3 plus 3. So minus 2 plus 3 would be 1. And that's 6 plus 3, so that's 9. So your 2 points will be minus 1, 1 and 3, 9. Okay, so let's see, does it match up with the graph? Yeah, minus 1, 1 and 3, 9 whenever you solve it like a graph. So if you end up being asked to find the point of intersection of a line and a curve, that's how you do it. You just let them equal each other and also do a better job than me of factorizing. Probably easiest to just use the minus b formula, but if you're good at factorizing, go for that. Okay, so just a couple of questions that you can do. Here's one, so you can pause the video and try that. So you've got your y equals on both sides, so you can just let them equal each other. So pause the video and try solve that. Okay, I'll just give you the solutions now. I'll delete this. Okay, so work it out the same way. You can either guide number and solve it over here, or you can minus b formula solve it over here, and then you just sub them back in. So we can see it's right on the graph. And finally, if you want to try this one, without seeing the answers, again, you have got your two things. So y equals, the only thing is you need to change something down here. So just think about that and then I'll show you. Okay, put up the solutions now so you can see it on the graph, but I'll just give you the algebra now as well. Okay, so as you can see, one of them's fine. It's just x squared plus 4. That's all lovely. But then you see this one is x plus y equals 8. So you just need to minus x from both sides in order to solve it. Then again, you're making a quadratic and then you're subbing it in whenever you finish it off. So I think that'll do it for this one. As you can see, they kind of have a method where you need to make a quadratic and then solve it either using your guide number or your minus b formula. So maybe not my most straightforward video because I stumbled over myself a bunch of times, but hopefully it's somewhat helpful, at least on the first question. Okay.